Good afternoon, Latin students. I'm glad to be with you even through this virtual kind of presentation that will be available for all of you. And in particular, I want the Honors Latin courses to be able to answer this question. Why do you study Latin? So you should have received this very handout here just moments ago. You probably received this question from many people in your lives, maybe even at random times. So why do you study Latin? Or it's a dead language, or something like that may have come out in someone's question to you. And we want to be able to address that now together. Why do we study Latin? I want to begin first with a brief devotional thought from the Confessions of St. Augustine. And this is probably not the best artist's rendering of him, but there it is. Oh well. And go ahead and take a look here at just this one little clause. We're going to start with the clause here where it begins with quia, subordinating conjunction, similar to our English word because. Quia fecisti nos. Now, you already know your perfect tense endings. I, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. So there is you, second singular. It's on fake, the perfect active stem there. So from facio, facere, feci, factus. So because you have made us ad te, unto yourself or unto you. Et inquietum est cor nostrum donec requiescat in te. And inquiet or restless is heart of us, the heart of us. Donec or until requiescat in te, until it might rest in you. Now, requiescat there is in fact a subjunctive kind of form. Otherwise, this a would not be there. The AP students have interacted with that a lot. Not the others, you'll see that very soon. But until it might rest in you. So this has been a very famous phrase, both in its original Latin here and in English translation, where often it comes across in English as, thou hast made us for thyself, and our hearts are restless till they find their rest in thee. Here, quia fecisti nos ad te, et inquietum est cor nostrum donec requiescat in te. And that is how Augustine first thought it and wrote it and expressed himself. And certainly it's one of the very first examples of this level of deep introspection in the ancient world, in the world of literature. So with that little devotional thought or introduction now from Augustine, I want to go ahead now and begin this particular time of teaching. Now, I want you to make sure that you do pay attention to this, that you fill out your notes. We will continue to work on it, even though I'm not present with you today. This will be a matter of some review and then some quizzing and testing and things, so make sure to be ready for that. We're going to go over 5 points, 4 points that affect our classical method. In other words, our methodology as a school, why we do, what we believe is an appropriate and strategic educational method. So we're going to have 4 points related to that. And then you'll notice here on the next page, a concluding point about content, both Christian and classical. All right, so 5 points total. Let's go ahead and get into them. Latin is linguistically opposite of English. Now, I do have to say mostly they're not perfectly opposite. Even what I'm about to show you, there are a couple exceptions or things like that, but hey, you're accustomed to learning a little bit about exceptions. Now, let me go ahead and draw a line here, and you may want to do the same, because what I want you to think about is actually analytic down here at this end of the line, and really, I would prefer it maybe if it were drawn out this way, synthetic down here at this end of the line. This is one way of classifying languages and how they work. Analytic and synthetic, these are the two ends of a continuum. Much the same way that hot and cold are a continuum. There is your Latin root word right there, which has come into English, continuum. Anytime that something is understood to be between two poles on a kind of spectrum, like hot and cold are when the water comes out of our faucet. So, roughly speaking, analytic is a language where information in grammar and meaning is sort of one feature per one word. Okay, one feature equals one word, and there will be ways I can communicate this to each one of you. Synthetic then often means that individual features of meaning will often be bound onto a word. Right, so instead of an equal sign, I'm going to draw an arrow to the word, because it's not one feature of grammar per word, but it is one feature then being attached to a word. So think about this, for example. The feature of meaning related to tense, that is time in English. Now, in English here, we often kind of straddle the fence. We do a little bit of both. If I take the verb walk, all I have to do is add ed to the end of the word. Ed cannot be its own word, so it must attach onto this word. And now ed just means past time, and it attaches to the kind of dictionary meaning that you associate in your mind with walking. Now, what if I do future? I get will walk. Now, here is where English is analytic. Here, English is one feature, one word. Will right here, the only thing it means is future. And often when people who study language will do this kind of thing, they'll use all three capital letters right here. It just means future. Now, what's interesting is that will can be its own verb, like to desire or pursue something, like I will that you study hard or something like that. But it can be stripped away of its dictionary meaning and just mean future for I will walk or something like that. Now, here's another good example for us. Even that very word right there, I means first person singular subjective, as we say in English, because it's the subject. Or, to use the words making an analogy to Latin, it is nominative singular, first person, right? And notice it's a word all by itself. If you come over to Latin, which is synthetic, it is actually known as a subgroup of the synthetic languages here. Its subgroup is called fusional. And that's because it makes a fusion, right? This word, ambulo, means I walk, and actually you know that it is this letter that actually means I, first person singular. A-M-B-U-L, that is in fact the stem of ambulo, ambulare. And so actually already we've got a bunch of different features coming together in one word. Now, if I do something like walked, it is simply ambulabam. Or if I want to say I will walk, it is ambulabo. So once again, everything is being fused together in one word. Here is the big point. In word formation, and therefore also in sentence formation, English and Latin use very different strategies. English has become more and more analytic. For example, have you ever noticed in English it is I walk, you walk, and then he, she, or it walks, and there's this leftover S. That's sort of a leftover from in the past when there were more clear different markings, kind of like what we see with ambulo, ambulas, ambula, that kind of thing in Latin, when there were clearer markings where the verb was agreeing with the first, second, or third person. You may also be familiar with the King James Bible or with Shakespeare. I know so many are involved in drama here where we do a good bit of Shakespeare at Veritas. And you might be familiar with the fact that ye was second person plural and thee was second person singular. In fact, thee was accusative. Thou was nominative. So we used to have more synthetic aspects, and English has become more and more analytic over the years. For this reason, actually, this is incredibly wise to study Latin. Latin is linguistically mostly opposite of English in a way that certain other languages are not. So this is rather unique for Latin, to be linguistically mostly opposite of English. Now, I'm close to 10 minutes on this video. I think I'm going to pause it now, in fact, in order that I don't lose any of what we've done so far, and I'll come back and start number 2.